May you find happiness and peace, and may your home stand the test of time.
Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mary. Today I'll be reacting to exposing work students' dangerous gender nonsense. So without further ado, let's get started.
Yeah, so I'm non-binary and I use he, they pronouns. So I've gone along with the whole pronoun journey.
Gender's a social construct, it doesn't exist.
I use they, them pronouns.
What does they, them mean? Again, explain to me what.
Well, I identify as non-binary, so it's not man or woman or either ends of the spectrum. It's somewhere in between or nowhere.
Back at Sussex University, one of Britain's wokest universities, to ask students questions, all things pronouns and gender related. Let's see what they have to say. What age should someone be allowed to get surgery and transition fully?
I think the easy answer is 16 to 18.
What, so if it's could a 12-year, would you be comfortable with a 12-year-old getting surgery, for example, or a 14-year-old?
Well, it's not my place to really get in the way of telling, what a 14-year-old or something should do. But I think that if they think that, they want this, then they should be allowed to have it.
But it's interesting you mentioned 16. For you, that seems like an age where underneath that, you wouldn't be happy about the idea of someone, if it was available to them.
Maybe. I mean, maybe a year or two after maybe thinking about it or contemplating starts. So 7 or 8 if they're 10, 11, 12. If it's this is a through line and it's been giving them maybe issues with mental health, if it's this is a recurring theme, then maybe pursue that.
Sure.
Because it's just a different form of therapy.
If I was to say to you how many genders are there, what would you say?
I'd say that there's definitely more than 2. I think it's a far more complicated and personal set of things than you can be easily even put to a number. Really.
Sure, okay. How many genders are there then?
An infinite amount.
Infinite amount.
So, do you want
As many as you want.
Yeah,
you just talk to the person and find out what they feel. I think it
So what? Limitless.
A binary number, because when you bring in things like he, they, that's just it's more your expression of yourself. It doesn't have to be a number. I think that's
gender's very
outdated.
Yeah, gender's outdated, and there's also a lot of different things you can put in within gender, because there's gender, identity, expression, and then pronouns and gender doesn't have to be aligned. It's all very different. So and also the only real person who needs to know a person's gender is themselves, because it's a very personal thing and a very a thing that people will express or want to keep private. So I think there's 2 sexes, there's male and female.
Sure.
But gender, there's as many as people want there to be.
I have a few friends who identify with a variety of different genders. I think it's less of a it's more of an identity thing rather than any amount of how many it is. I'm sure there are many that I don't know of, and many that I do. So.
But there's more than 2.
Yes, I would say so. There's 2 biological sexes. I think gender is a matter of spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I personally believe that gender is a social construct. People can use whatever pronouns that make them feel comfortable, basically.
So as in gender and sex are 2 different things?
Yes, I believe, at least personally.
Sure, okay, fine. So how do you identify then?
I identify, I'm not really sure.
Sure, so okay, that's...
Still figuring it out.
I'm trying to get my head around the language. If you're a trans woman, so that means that you've transitioned. So you were a cis male, I think that's the language, and you're now a trans woman, and the feminists say you should not be allowed to use a female bathroom. So it's all very well talking about ideas, and I like that. But in terms of practical application in some of these areas that are more about the LGBTQ plus community, what are your thoughts as a female who identifies as a female? What do you think about trans women, I think that's the right term, using female bathroom?
I think it's fine. I think that people can use whatever bathrooms they want.
What about the feminists who say that there's a safeguarding issue there? That's what generally speaking, the feminists now are talking about safeguarding issues.
I wouldn't really call them feminists if they're not including trans women in their agenda.
Because trans women are women?
Yes.
And is that your personal belief?
Yes.
And trans men are trans men are men?
Yeah, if they identify as that, or they might identify as non-binary or whatever. But yeah, whatever they identify as.
That's like the purpose of the bathroom. You just walk in and anyone could be in there. It's gender neutral. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so at the other end, what if I tomorrow morning dress up as I look right now, but I get into a dress, heels, whatever, and I walk into a female bathroom? Is that okay?
I feel like this is quite like a very like complicated and loaded question to ask someone. Like, I don't really have the exact answer.
Well, just your thoughts, because that's what the feminists are saying in terms of safeguarding, is that actually there's a big problem there, but the trans community says there's no problem. So it's about getting your own opinion.
Yeah, well, I think that, like, you know, trans women should obviously be allowed to go into female toilets. Yeah, it's just, like, I don't know, it's quite a hot topic.
It's a difficult question, but I think it's a completely legitimate one for people that say that there are many different genders and we should address with pronouns. So, for example, let's just say that as I look today, tomorrow I go into a female bathroom and I'm dressed in a certain way, and someone says, "Oi, mate," or "Oi, sir, you can't go in there," or whatever. So it's not just about pronouns and about asking people how many genders there are. It's about the practical application. So fundamentally, in terms of the trans movement and bathrooms, is it the case that a trans woman is that the correct that they should be allowed to use female bathrooms?
They should be allowed to use women's bathrooms, yes. Sex and gender aren't inextricably linked. They aren't linked at all, really. Gender is a social construct. It doesn't exist. It's about making sure that people are safe because, you know, trans women face misogyny too. They face exponential amounts of violence. It doesn't have any implication on which bathroom people go to. People say it's a women's safeguarding issue. I am absolutely a feminist, but, you know, I do not see this as a women's safeguarding issue. You do not have security guards standing at the doors to gendered toilets saying, "Let's see your genitals, we need to make sure you aren't trans." The fear very much seems to be about cisgender men dressing up as trans women and causing attacks and harms.
A guy like me dresses up, tomorrow morning wake up, looking at the way I do, and I put a dress on and I start going into female bathrooms because of how I identify, which obviously links to pronouns. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a really good question. I think it can be quite an easy way for a man who wants to assert some dominance, who disagrees with the whole pronoun situation, to waltz into a female bathroom with a dress on and say, "I'm allowed to be here." But I think that is a small minority. Yeah, it's going to make people uncomfortable. I don't think that would affect me as much. Obviously, I don't go into women's bathrooms either as wearing a dress or as born as a woman.
On that then, right, tough question. What of that of a 6-year-old saying to mum and dad, what you're saying is that I identify or I feel as XYZ. What should the parent do? What's your advice? Nice and broad, could be anything, but they say...
Okay, so let me say one or two before this video continue. We are missing it somewhere. Like, if this is the generation we are training, then I feel we are getting it wrong, because you don't let someone keep on doing something that is not right simply because it's massage their egos or it makes them feel better. I feel it is totally wrong, because the God that made you male and female, okay? Even if I'm not using the scripture, okay? Biologically, if you give birth to a child, it's either you give birth to a male or a female child. So you're telling me that, yes, we have male and female sex, but when it comes to gender is plenty. Nah. This is wrong. We are getting it wrong, because, like, you can't be this way and feel like, nah, I don't want to be this way anymore. I want to be this. So many people that have done this, coming back regretting their action. I was watching a documentary on YouTube yesterday, whereby people that have transitioned, not really transition per se, this lesbian that have gotten married, they are looking for a child, and now they are forced to either go to hospital and look for sperm donor and get pregnant. I feel like all this would have been easy if you get married to a guy. You don't need to look for sperm donor. He's your husband, so he can definitely get you pregnant. Or if he can't, then you guys can go for that process. But I feel like in the movie, like, a certain guy gave birth to almost 1,000 children. He was distributing his semen everywhere, making everyone pregnant. And majority of people that fell victim for this, based on the video I watched, was either men that have done vasectomy or women that are, dating same sex that feel like they want to at least get pregnant. It's not appropriate. Like, seriously, it's not, right. In the Bible, it says, spare the rod and spoil the child. When a child starts breathing a certain way and you feel like, nah, it's not supposed to be this way, you can correct the child by talking to the child or caution the child. That is how we learn. You don't see a serial killer killing people and you feel like, yeah, that is who he is. Don't hurt his ego. That is his kind of person. No, we arrest that person or put that person in a mental health facility that the person know that, yes, what you are doing is not right. Okay? I won't stay and watch someone of chop up what makes my child a man or a woman, then because he or because my child feel like they don't identify as this, I feel it's not right, because there are decisions you take that are permanent decision. When you take such a decision, you can't reverse from it. When you are taking a decision, you need to ask yourself, in the long run, will I still enjoy being like this? Will I still enjoy this decision? Because woman, being human, our needs are not, constant. It changes. I can be admiring, let's say iPhone 15 right now, and when I get it, the urge will just die off. Now my need now has changed. I'm looking for something new, looking for something more and more nice. That is who we are. You see, you can say, oh, I want to cease being a man, and you take what makes you a man away, and let's say in the next 5 to 10 years, you might want to become a man again, and you can't, correct that mistake. Anyway, let's just continue and see how this video unfolds, guys.
Something along those lines.
I mean, I just think listen to them, do what they choose. Like, I know there's obviously permanent things you can do with transgender stuff, but maybe just support them until they're old enough that the parents are happy for them to make permanent decisions. But until then, just listen and be open.
Yeah, definitely. Even from the start, just make it a place where they feel like they can come to you with those questions, and make it a space where you're not labeling them as definitely a boy, definitely a girl, or definitely gay, definitely straight. Just make it an inclusive place where if they are thinking that, then you just be yeah, I hear you, I see you. Do you want a different pronoun, different name? How can we support you in this? And it's see, because children are ever changing, ever growing. Same with adults, people change, people experience different things and go, oh, actually I want to be this or this. So really just be open and listen to them.
So a lot of times it's just we'll try different clothes, we'll try a different haircut, we'll see if we like it. If you really hate it, there's no harm, no foul.
So obviously just good parenting 101, listen to the child, ask them how they're thinking, feeling, but equally if a child came home and said, just to be devil's advocate for the audience, if a child came home and said, I want to start drinking vodka straight from the bottle.
No, you say no, that's too dangerous, you're too young.
It's important to just be there for your kids rather than try and impose something on them. You can obviously let them know how you're feeling, but respectfully be able to listen to what they are trying to express to you and not coax anything that you want to hear back out of them.
So what would your advice be to parents where a son comes home and starts saying things like, oh, I think I might be female, or am I a woman, or whatever?
I think there's a level of exploring. Obviously, you've got to be aware of age, but the parent is realistically in control until they're sort of early teens, I'd say, and then it sort of becomes an increasingly balanced relationship to a more 50-50 thing and a more independent thing for the child as they get 18. So earlier on, it's sort of, okay, you feel this way, let's talk about it. But I make the final decision as the parent. And then it moves into, if you want to wear a dress, that's your thing. Let me support you in that.
Well, yeah, I'd say be supportive of your child and, try and talk through, their development. But also your child will know, who they are and stuff. I think to the encouragement to be open with your growth as a person is really important. I think that, I don't know, sometimes it can be pushed down, and that can lead to some really difficult times when you're repressing who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've just, people have referred to me as she, and I've been oh, not she, it's they. And then they're I'm so sorry, I didn't know, I'm trying to do so much better, and at the end of the day you're then putting the onus on trans people for taking the responsibility for your mistakes. You're allowed to make mistakes, that's why we're correcting you, so you can do better and move on, but like you're putting trans people in a really uncomfortable position when you make them try to make you feel better or alleviate any guilt. You know, I think it is about being patient with people, but also we're not just going to be patient for anyone, because you need to actually be making an effort. These are new things and they do take time to learn, but you actually have to be putting in the effort. You can't just expect trans people to forgive you wherever you go.
Pronouns, should we all be using them? To a layman person, how does it work? Should we be using them, and what are they?
I mean, we should all be using them. I mean, unless you don't want to use them, but like that would be an identity on its own.
Today is International Pronoun Day, apparently anyway, so I've been told. If I'm wrong on that, then is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all my badges, they're all like personal to me and my symbolism, and I have a lot of different flags. So this is just the classic transgender flag.
Right.
So anyone who doesn't identify with the gender that was assigned at birth.
I know that one, yeah.
Yeah, and then this is the non-binary one, which is the one I use. So that's for anyone who again isn't a man or a woman, whether that's a trans woman or a trans man.
Yeah.
And then this. Oh no, where's the? And this is the progress flag.
Oh,
so
okay.
this is the normal, the sky flag that everyone knows, like the rainbow.
Some of them I know, yeah. That's
Yeah,
great.
and then this is the progress one. So again, it's just the typical rainbow that Gilbert Baker created in the early 2000s. And then this is the progress one, which was created, I think, 2020 by a black woman of colour. And the white, blue, and pink show the transgender people in the community, and the brown and black show the people of colour in the community.
And then there's Superman and Batman, and they seem to be kissing.
They're gay. Yeah.
They're engaging in a warm embrace.
Of course, yeah. I love all my badges kind of like show to other people like the values I have, and like the inclusion I have. So I have like loads of ones which are about like obviously refugees welcome, and like the gay community, the trans community. I have like ones about like sustainability, all of that, just to show people that like I'm like an inclusive person, and like this is who I am, and like you can express yourself however you need to be.
Yeah, well, I have to ask because I've not seen that before. Em and Emma, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you so
Have
much.
a great day.
Have a great day.
Sure. So generally speaking, if let's talk about you as the individual. If someone, so for me, you're a female, but that might offend somebody who was non-binary. Is that correct? I'm learning as I go.
Well, I present as a female and I identify as a female, so that's fine to me. Obviously, if you assume someone else's gender and they are not identifying as that gender, that would offend them. So usually I would just not assume at all.
Okay. So this is well, like I said, this is shocking. This is something that I'm not expecting people to. Well, everyone have their choice. Okay, if this is the trend now, we can flow with it and see how long it continues. But I feel. Well, I'm not going to say anything because I feel like, based on the question he asked, everyone is buying into this ideology. But I'm just happy it has not fully come into Africa. Well, because there are laws that are preventing it from coming. Even if they've been trying to buy their way into Africa and make Africa accept this ideology. But I feel like it's not normal. You see, it's more of a mental health than, I don't know. It's just my take anyway. You can I agree with whatever you want to agree, but to me, I feel it's not just right. Like, you know, it's never supposed to be like this. Like, it's supposed to be a man and a woman. That is how I understand it, and that is how I feel it is right. So I'm not talking about the intimacy. I'm just talking about how it's supposed to be. If you're a man, you don't confuse yourself as being a woman, or if you're a woman, you don't confuse yourself as being a man. I saw someone that feel like she identified as being black, and she took her eyes off, and I feel like there are several people born with that eyes that are praying to just see. You know, I went to the School of Blind in Ghana. I saw people navigating this world in darkness. You see, they wash their clothes themselves. They pack their clothes. They take their clothes to the drying line. They dry the clothes. They know when the clothes is dry. They pack their clothes. They know exactly where they pack their clothes, even without seeing. And they've been able to practice this for years. And you have sight, you have this sight, like you just saw yourself as being born blind and you took your eyes away. I saw one that wanted to identify as a dog, and he spent thousands of dollars, transforming himself to a dog. And I feel like, nah, this is not right. Where's the limit? Where did we draw the curtain? Where did we say this is the limit? How many genders should we appoint to people, since they said there are several genders? So where is the limit? Like, is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 100? Is it 1 million? I feel it's more of a mental health, and everyone is just accepting with it, going with the flow and all. But we need to know when to draw the line. The earlier the better, because if you don't correct a child at a tender age, that child is going to grow up and be wayward, and everything is going to come back to you, the family, that you did not do a good job. But this is a beautiful one. I enjoyed this, and I've learned a lot from this. Well, what I learned is we should all respect each other's decision, but I'm just upset that the world is buying into this ideology, and it's not supposed to be so. Like, sincerely speaking, this is really, really bad. This is messed up, and I pray Africa never agree to this, because I just can't confuse myself, when I walk into a man's bathroom and I see someone dressed like a female, trying to use the bathroom. To me, I feel it's abnormal. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If it's the first time visiting the channel, click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and remember, bless.